And we're live, VP.
You think we're live?
I don't think we've ever done a live show.
We've never done live. We've always been. We wanted we always want the net under our tightrope.
Yes, we want when we say the G word.
The G word. Which is the G word?
Ganges. We want to be able to edit that out.
Yeah, just in case.
Welcome, everyone, to VPZD episode 37. For people who are listening on the podcast, this was recorded live in front of a non-studio audience of however many.
Non-studio audience of how many people?
Let's take a look.
Oh, your mom's there in the audience. There she is.
Oh, great. Oh,
Hi,
that's
Mom.
going to be great. Well,
And
good.
That's it.
That's good. We have one concurrent viewer. So, you can see how my reach has extended infinitely since the end of COVID.
Well, it's a busy week, and we've got a lot in store for you. This week, we're going to talk about why Trump won the election, 10 things that might happen in healthcare under Trump. We're going to talk about, all the news of the week. So we figured we got to do it live because
we have to do it live because this was election week, and the second Tuesday of November, first Tuesday of November,
and it's the first day that you've stopped crying, so you're able to do the show.
I'm finally able as a Bay Area.
Tears have dried. Yeah.
Well, no, actually, so it's interesting as the sole male member of a house of two teenage daughters and a wife, all of whom are minorities. I could feel a collective trauma, which was just, someone who looks like us, who was raised in Berkeley, didn't get to be president. And then when last night I sat around the table.
Kamala.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was Kamala. No, it was actually Donald Trump.
Oh, Donald Trump. Raised in Berkeley.
Could you imagine?
I was like,
oh my God, can you imagine Donald Trumpiwala? He would have been the best
Indian.
Indian.
A lot of Indian traits.
He does.
He loves gold.
He loves gold.
Yeah.
It's a very Indian thing. He probably drinks Johnny Walker Black neat. Actually, that he doesn't.
You see
drink.
the Hassan Minhaj stand-up special?
No.
He's got this great joke about how there's you go to India with your mother, and then there's a beggar that comes to him asking for money, and she's like, "No, we don't got any money. I got to go buy jewelry."
It's true. It's true. And Indians love they love to show off their houses and have dinner parties and things. By the way, we got about 100 people watching.
All right, good.
We got some comments here. Dudes.
They love to have dinner parties. That reminds me of the number one thing on my checklist today.
Oh, yeah.
I have a bone to pick with you, Zubin.
Pick it.
So I notice that I'm always trying to be friends with Zubin outside of this show. I'm like, oh, you want to hang out? You want to do this? You want to do that? And recently I was like, oh, are you free for a dinner party on Saturday? Come over to my house, have a dinner party. I've got a few people coming over. And you're like, oh, I'm busy. I'm actually out of town this weekend. And then I'm like, okay, well, what about I got another dinner party the weekend after.
And guess what? I'm out of town.
You're like, well, actually, I have to meditate.
No, I didn't say that. I'm going to I
gotta meditate.
That's right. No, I'm seeing my mom one of those weekends.
Uh-huh.
And the other one, I'm actually going to a meditation.
If your next excuse is I got to do my hair, then I'm really going to have a problem.
That's right. Well, so no, this is a valid. I was actually going to talk to you about this. So
that you're dodging me.
Yeah. No. Well, no. There's something about me that I've started to realize, and it's true of my wife too, is that we're just not social people.
Not friendly.
Not friendly.
Yeah.
We're
recluses.
I would say misanthropes. And the thing is, here's the thing. Like, you're one of the only people I regularly see.
I'm like Ted Kaczynski's brother, and you're like Ted, right? Like, I'm the only one in contact with you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've been working on my pipe bombs, and you've been very instrumental in helping me with that. No, but it is...
manifesto.
This came to me... I used to try to fake it. I would try to go to things and do things.
Right.
And I realized...
Put on a face.
I put on a face. And I realized after I got home, I was exhausted. My face hurt from all my fake expressions. And I was just... I was like, what?
My dinner party's not going to be that
bad. No, it won't be. It won't be.
Okay.
No, but see, you're one of the few people, my wife and I went out with
Do you think you're an introvert?
I think I'm an ambivert. I think I get energized in certain situations, but then de-energized in others. And then increasingly I was wondering.
Ambisexual, ambivert. Interesting.
Yes. Intersexual. That's the I in LGBTQIA.
I see.
Asexual is the one I'm working on.
I see.
Well, involuntarily.
With the way you accept invitations.
I do. Yeah. From Jay Varma.
Yeah.
We had to bring that back. So I realized more and more that I don't like people. I'm not talking about you. I'm saying just the interaction with other human egos, and increase. Yeah, I'm starting to die a little to the whole thing.
Parking is bad in my neighborhood. That's another reason.
But this is the thing. Whenever VP hits me up, I'm like, I'm right there. But then if it's like a dinner party, I'm like, you mean there's other people there? No, fuck that. I'm not coming.
So
it's kind of like that. But honestly, those two that you mentioned,
you had plans.
I actually do have plans.
But if there were another date,
I would have just said, I'm not feeling great. I think I have the AIDS.
Not feeling good. Right. You probably just say you're worked up about the election.
But you know, yeah, no, but I'm not really.
I see. Yeah,
I'm lying. Okay, so the day of the election, I had this theory that maybe we were undercounting Kamala voters, like the way they undercounted Trump voters, but it was the opposite.
You mean
right?
the poll? Oh, I see.
Yes,
right,
and I'll tell you why I missed that. This is my theory.
Yeah.
I missed it because, first of all, I live in the Bay Area.
Bubble.
The big bubble. But I look at all the media, and I actually have a lot of like libertarian leanings. So like I'm not particularly a card-carrying Democrat. I'm a registered independent, right? But there was something about like my feeling of how the economy was going. Because in my position, this is a great economy.
I see.
You see?
As a rich person.
As a rich person, exactly.
Yeah. As a rich person.
This is a real blind spot. As someone who's like got Maslow's hierarchy figured out.
I see.
Now, what I didn't realize, my blind spot was most people in America don't have Maslow's hierarchy. They have not got the base of that pyramid. And when they see what's been happening, inflation, high interest rates, and getting preached at for wokeness, and we'll talk about all this, they're going to be like, throw the bums out. It doesn't matter who's running as the Republican, and it doesn't matter who's running as the Democrat. So that's my theory. And once I processed that, I was like, oh, the surprise of it was like, oh, no, it's not a surprise at all.
I see. Well, as you know, I can't afford my PG&E heating bills. It's just true. Actually, it's true. It's true. So I actually live with a couple space heaters, and I actually got like timers. So they're timed so that my whole like path through the apartment is kind of heated. Like, so before I wake up, it warms the little area next to my bed so I can get dressed, and then it warms the kitchen area. I'm not joking. This is how
I've been to his house.
It's hand to mouth.
It's cold as fuck over there. Like, because you know, it's a San Francisco building. It's not well insulated.
Professor salary, man.
Professor salary.
I'd be out there in the streets.
Professor salary. Now I'm 10 years ahead of you. I have the professor salary for the period you have it. You're gonna at some point you're gonna get wise and quit that shit and just go out and do some hero's journey that is unpredictable.
We'll see where it
and
goes.
Then you'll be in my position where you're like, damn, the rent's too high. I'm going to get solar installed on my roof so I don't have to pay for the electricity. Well, how much does the solar cost? Well, more than most Americans make in a year. So, okay, yeah. So this,
and then you throw coins out. You throw coins out the window.
The coins.
SF.
It is, but it's a real class issue. And I think a lot of like the rich liberal elite class, they don't understand.
Who you represent on this show?
I represent. No. I'm the caricature of the rich liberal elite.
At least that's the rules we play for today's show.
That's right. Yeah,
and I'm going to represent LaPorte, Indiana. Well, we know you're from the Central Valley.
I'm from Clovis, California, the most conservative spot in all of California.
All Trump.
All Trump. No, it's 100% Trump.
It's Trump Vance country.
And that's 100% my mom. She just voted 20 times. Trump's like, the liberals are cheating. I'm like, no. My mom registered under 20 different Indian names.
20 mail-in and in person.
That's right. That's right.
Where do we get started?
Yeah, where do we start?
So the first thing I wanted to tell you...
So sorry about your dinner party.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
No, I know you were meditating.
Yeah.
Fuck your meditating. I'll tell you what, you don't show up to the next 2 dinner parties, I'm going to know something's up. And your viewers are going to hold you accountable. Oh my God, there are a lot of people.
Yeah. Kat Tavares says that's why the majority of rich people voted for Kamala. That's true, except for the billionaire Silicon Valley elite, because they kind of know that they can get Trump in their corner to do what needs to be done for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
us middle class rich, we're just screwed. Because what did Trump do to the middle class rich like me? He got rid of my state and local tax.
Salt deduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, state and local income tax deduction. But he did that to punish you for living in this liberal state.
That's right.
Which you deserve to be punished.
I deserve to be punished.
No, but I got punished for it too.
I know, we both got punished for it. Yeah. So my taxes actually went up with the Trump tax cut.
I mean, because you're not rich enough.
Yeah.
I've always said, why are you flying commercial, Z? You're not real. You've not made it, you know? You've not made it until
Where's my private island?
Your private island? Your private jet to private island.
I know,
that's when you've made it.
You're right.
Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is crying doctors. You know, I want to make another point, which is that I actually think that I can understand why your people may be happy, people may be disappointed. But I think if you have too strong emotions about the national election, I think that's a marker of like bad personal mental health. Like if you really are crying, like I think that I just don't believe that could possibly be due to federal policy that may only affect you perhaps indirectly, perhaps, you know, very narrow slices of people affected by any federal policy. And I think a lot of it is just that your whole life is in the fucking Twitter and social media and your little bubble and you start crying about this. It's like, just relax, you know. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. I saw one doctor crying. I'm going to read you the tweet in a second because it's really informative. And another doctor saying, how can I move out of the country? Who can help me go? And to me, I think it's like such an abdication of civic duty to just say, anytime a politician gets elected you don't like, I'm going to move. I mean, I didn't get to say I'm going to move when they were like cloth masking me to, when they're doing all these stupid things that I thought were stupid, because the goal is, if you want to participate in a society, the solution is not to move. It's to try to persuade people that your view of the world is correct. And that's the hard work of living with other people who don't all agree with you. And moving is just such an empty and capricious choice, and to me speaks of cowardice.
Yeah, and I'll say this, like, I think there's while you pull up the tweet, there's a collective human delusion that is created by the thoughtosphere of social media and the news. So the people that are ready to leave the country, they've been indoctrinated by a particular branch of media that's saying Trump is a complete danger to democracy. He's a racist, a misogynist. Here's his quotes out of context of whatever flow he's saying. Look, he may well be a racist and a misogynist and a sociopath, but we had him for 4 years. Right? The world didn't explode. There weren't wars. Yeah, there were things that people would disagree with and things that they would agree with. And then COVID came and got him booted out. Then COVID came and got Biden booted out. This is my theory, because the policies around COVID led to the inflation and the high interest rates that got people to kick him out. I'm going to say something crazy.
Go ahead.
Hillary Clinton was right about one thing. There is a basket of deplorables. Now, this is what I mean by this. This is what I mean by this.
In your basket.
This is my theory. Okay. So the way I take what she's saying, I don't know what her intent was, because she's crazy. I don't like Hillary. She's a very bad. She's a bad person.
She should be in jail.
Should be in jail.
Because you'll be in jail.
Should be in jail.
You think that there's some tiny fraction of his followers who are in fact deplorable? That's what you're saying?
Yes, but they're tiny.
Yes.
What the mass of people are the people who are looking for Maslow's hierarchy to be fulfilled, and they see in him something different than the previous administration.
But there's a tiny fraction of followers of Biden who are wackadoodle, crazy, woke,
batshit, awful.
Okay.
They are a basket of deplorablers.
Okay.
Well, or at least as deplorable.
I completely agree with you that, I mean, any politician will have some tiny fraction that are crazy. So it'll be a white supremacist perhaps, or it'll be somebody who thinks that like a 2-year-old should be able to decide their gender. And
exactly.
Okay, just crazy in both.
Exactly.
But the difference, I think, is as a professional in a city, I encounter lunatics from the left camp more than the right camp. So in my life, I encounter people with extreme far left deranged ideology, and they're like a faculty member. I'm like, what the hell? How the hell are you faculty? But the crazy ones on the, those deplorables, I don't encounter because they don't make it to faculty.
This actually, who we brush up against in the bubble of consciousness that we're exposed to determines how reactive we are. So like, that's right. So like, you run into those guys and they drive you crazy. During COVID, they were driving me fucking nuts, right? Post-COVID, it's more like, now I get people in the comments that are truly like the delusional on the other side. Like, we need to ban all vaccines. We need to do this and that and the other thing. There's a brainworm.
You just got Shingrix.
I did. And you know what? My penis fell off.
Maybe you're not thinking clearly.
It was so covered with zoster, it got attacked. Yeah. So it's all that kind of way. But in the end, it's like, man, it's exactly what you said. Like, it's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine.
It's going to be better than fine.
And also, like, these college campuses have like a grief counselor.
I know. I saw that. You know what? I got an email from my school principal for my daughter's high school, and it was like, we were going to have therapists on hand, and
So I guess first, I mean, one thing to say about that is that it it just capitulates to the idea that you're so weak and fragile that, you would need a therapist. But second is, I bet if you randomly assigned places to have therapists, no therapists, you will have more anxiety and depression.
Yeah, in the therapist place.
In the therapist arm. Like, where is the evidence that therapists reduce anxiety, depression, and these negatives? In fact, they bolster it, they validate it.
Do you know why? Do you know they validate it? Because they validate that anything you fucking think or believe has any truth value.
That it has any truth, and that your feelings are so important, and and I don't know. I think it validates.
I got to say, so Andrew Dunbar sent us $5. Can you make any predictions about the effect RFK Jr. will have on the healthcare? So we're going to come to that, Andrew. Thank you for your support.
10 things that you might expect on a Trump administration.
Yeah.
I mean, I think to that point specifically, what I would say is that I think that there's a lot of energy, and I think RFK Jr. speaks to lots of energy and motivation to change. There's some core structural things that he is different than other people, like he's anti-conflicts of interest, he's anti-big agriculture and these things. And my impetus is we should give him concrete things that everyone will agree on, that like reform, take that energy and put it in the right direction.
Yeah.
Give concrete suggestions for things that we'll all agree on. People who are vaccine proponents and opponents, I think they should all agree we need better phase 4 surveillance, better surveillance systems for rare adverse events.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to do on my Substack and other places. We'll talk about that.
So you're basically saying like treat him like a grown child, where you basically say, listen, here are the things that you really, these are your strengths, and the weakness about, the brainworm and the not vaccinating children, Children's Defense Fund stuff.
I guess I'd say that like the same for like that Biden-Harris administration, which was I tried to channel their energy into good policy for all these years. Yeah. The difference was those motherfuckers didn't listen to me at all. They really shut out anyone who disagreed with them on masking toddlers and vaccinating, which was so anti. And in fact, they deemed, okay, well, we've talked about it.
No, I agree with you. And that's what was the worst thing. And their biggest blind spot is they don't recognize that good people can actually disagree.
They don't. For them, it's all like, it's all, if the moment you disagree on anything, they call me anti-vax. I was like, listen, you stupid fucker. No one's given more vaccines than me.
Yeah, exactly.
I did post-auto transplant.
Come on.
I vaccinated from scratch.
Yeah.
You don't even know anything.
Yeah.
And also my position on anti-vax, it's that the benefits should outweigh the risk. And vaccines are like drugs. Every single one should be judged independently on the evidence.
Yeah.
Oh, let me read the quote. The quote is good.
The quote, come with it.
Okay. This is from Dr. Neville.
By the way, this is so fun doing this live. 370 people watching.
Wow. ID. I can answer that question too. An ID. This is, I think, an ICU doctor from LA named Dr. Neville, and it's in my Substack. Quote, I've been on and off crying since 2 a.m. My belief that the majority of people are inherently good has been shattered. No explanation will suffice. Now, to me, I said, quote, I'm comfortable when a doctor calls more than half their patients bad people. And I think that's the problem, because she's conflated that 72 million people are bad people. I find that impossible to believe. That just can't be true. And so if you're going to walk around that everyone who voted for him is a misogynist and a racist and a bad person, then you are the bad person. I mean, you've taken a position that's so extreme that no one's going to take you seriously. Why are you crying since 2 a.m.? Why are you viewing the world in such a polarized way? This person should be trying to get their emotions under control. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take a position here, which I think I actually expect them to behave that way because of how the media has portrayed Trump. So a rational actor
just like Hitler.
Just like Hitler.
Just like
a threat to democracy, racist, misogynist. Look at what he did to the Black Reporters Convention. Look what he did here. Look what he did there.
What did he do?
I mean, he just spoke.
Oh, I see.
And they took pieces out of context, and like everybody was up in arms, and so if you have,
he told that woman, he's like, yeah, that's not a very nice question.
And there was more. I think he was like, oh, Kamala isn't black. Oh, she was black, then she's not black, then she's Indian.
I mean,
his point was that she's using identity politics to her benefit.
Yeah, and she plays the right card in the right situation.
Right.
Which, I mean, to some degree, is a hallmark of a politician.
It is.
Look at how you play the brown card with me,
dude. Every day, I'm like, come on, buddy.
He's like, come on, buddy. You want a masala?
Where's the gold? Where's the Johnny Walker Black on ice?
I got here. He offered me a Kingfisher and a Johnny Walker Black. He's like, masala dosa? I was like, see, Zubin?
You want tamarind sauce? I have tamarind sauce too.
You play that card the moment you go.
I do. But so it doesn't surprise me that the doctors who tend to skew liberal, so they already have this moral palette that values fairness versus cheating and care versus harm. They're now activated to believe the end of the world is at hand and that half the population is morally evil. So I had this conversation with my daughters. My oldest daughter, she's a little like me. She's a bit of a little libertarian. She always talks about blue-haired liberals, and she went to Berkeley for the summer to do a thing, and she's like, yeah, I like it, except for all the blue-haired liberals.
Like old school liberal.
Old school liberal. She's like an old school liberal. Yeah. She's like a John F. Kennedy.
An old soul and a young person.
That's how she is.
Okay.
So she was asking over the table, they were depressed about the election because their friends are all depressed.
Of course.
And because it's the Bay Area and they're in public school. And I said, so, okay, guys, what do you think? Why do you think that Trump won? And they said, well, because this country's racist and misogynist. And I was like, okay, so do you think that a racist, misogynist country could have elected a guy whose name was Barack Obama twice, who was raised in Hawaii, and who is as other as an American can get and still be American? And they were like, well, I don't know. And I go, so why do you think Barack won? Why do you think Trump won? And then I went through the economics. I had to give them a lesson on interest rates. I gave them a lesson on inflation. I gave them a lesson on Maslow's hierarchy. And at the end, they were like, oh, so people aren't all that bad. They're just operating in their own self-interest. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what policy is.
Yeah. And also, like, the black vote and the Latino vote is increasing for Trump. So, but interestingly, so the people he's supposedly racist against like him more.
Why?
So, you know,
is it Stockholm Syndrome? I don't think so.
Nobody thinks he's racist more than a white person in California. You know, it's like, oh, they know what real racism looks like.
That's right. That's right. Now, I don't.
But these poor young people, as much as I love them, especially in this town, you know, like, the mere fact that every 16-year-old happily wore a cloth mask,
right,
and happily gave up their school,
right,
suggests to me that perhaps they're impressionable youth, and they can be led to believe things.
Yes, and that's why we do what we do, right? We're trying to talk about. I use this term alt-middle. It's not a centrist position. It's a free from extremes and think for yourself position. So that may mean sometimes you take a stance that, you know, like someone's comment was, "What do you think about Obamacare? I think it's unconstitutional and should be repealed." Right?
Oh, interesting.
So that's an interesting stance. There's a lot of nuance there.
Okay. Well, first of all, on the question of constitutionality, it was upheld by Roberts.
That's right.
You know, so 5-4
conservative justice
on the basis of taxation, which I always thought was a strong argument. So I think it is constitutional.
Yeah.
Now, does it have lots of problems? Lots of problems.
Sure.
Problem include, number one, that stupid push for meaningful use in electronic health records
was the worst, maybe well-intentioned, I don't even know, but the worst outcome ever, because now we have electronic records that are billing platforms and not care platforms.
Absolutely. Two, another reason it's extremely problematic was, you know, when the insurance company and the pharmaceutical companies pop champagne at your healthcare reform bill, it suggests that perhaps you're not controlling healthcare costs. And healthcare costs have ballooned, so we're going to suffocate under healthcare costs. So I think it's not and then there's still uninsured people. So like, was it a great solution? No. And I have a longer discussion on this.
But then who did it help? It helped people who couldn't get insurance due to pre-existing conditions.
That was the one thing that everyone always agreed on.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I think that had Obama not passed it in 2009, we would have gotten that pre-existing condition clause revoked at some point in the next 6 years or so. But I do think, like, if you're born with any genetic condition or you acquire any condition, it's good for you.
Do you think it net raised healthcare costs or actually put the brakes on them?
Oh, that's a good question. Like, what would the world have looked like without
ACA?
I mean, healthcare costs were runaway before, and then there was some preliminary evidence that showed that they continued to climb at less growth rate. It's really hard to know. I think that, you know, I always ask myself that had they not had the Affordable Care Act, what might have happened? I think we would have had healthcare reform in the decade. It's inevitable. And we might have gotten something that actually tries to curb costs. I guess I'm worried that, like, sometimes in order to fix healthcare, it really has to break. And Affordable Care Act may have temporized the breaking, but it just delays the real fix.
I'm with you. It has to collapse.
And it's headed that way.
And it's headed that way. Yeah.
Which is sad that we have to wait for things to be broken before we fix them.
And I'll say
just
this,
like your car.
My car.
You let that Camry go to shit before you even fixed it.
Dude, I gave it to my daughter. Totally broken. You know, there was a rat in that fucking Camry.
Really?
Yeah, in the glove box by the air filter, and it got crushed when I put the recirculator on, and that's how I caught it, and it pulled a dead rat out of there. And
you touched it yourself?
I used gloves, and I don't own a mask.
You don't know? Yeah. And then you developed you need a bubo.
I immediately had hantavirus. Instant hantavirus. Instant hantavirus. You know, Joanne C. says something interesting. Trump, she's one of my supporters. Trump named the first female chief of staff in American history. So much for the misogynist argument.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, I think that, well, I mean, one woman does not dispute that.
Exactly.
But I do think that, I don't think that's,
I think everybody's racist and misogynist to some degree because of the nature of our conditioning.
No one worse than you.
No one worse than me. How much you virtue signal about it or how much you actually go and do about it are different things, right?
Somebody's angry that you gave her the dead rat car.
Oh, yeah.
Look, you told her it's either Honda or Toyota.
I said, this thing going to drive forever, but it's going to be haunted by a dead rat.
No, you cleaned the rat out.
I did.
Clean.
I put some Lysol in there.
But I see, and then you got yourself a nice car.
Yeah, I leased a car because, I don't believe in buying anymore because I think the world's going to end in 2012. Is it already 2012? Oh, God. I still find masks in the pockets of coats, says Gordon. Ooh.
Well, if you come to the Bay Area, we just saw some person getting on the elevator with it.
Oh, yeah.
And Zubin was like, maybe they're immunosuppressed. And I was like, maybe probably mild asthma.
The mild asthma of immunosuppression.
No, it's got to be an interesting coincidence that all the immunosuppressed people are at the airport terminals for Boston, D.C., and San Francisco.
The liberal elite.
Yeah, but then in Birmingham, Alabama, there's no one immunosuppressed. I mean, come on.
Do you know what's the biggest suppressor of T cell function? Post-election traumatic stress disorder.
No, post-election T cell dysfunction.
That's what it is.
Trump directly impaired the T cell.
PTSD. Post T cell.
Post-Trump T cell dysfunction.
Yeah, PTTCD.
PTTCD.
That's what they have. You down with PTTCD? Oh yeah, you know me. Trump removing the Obamacare mandate was the best thing. In turn, stopped it from financially harming my family members.
Holy cow, I actually don't think
I didn't know
that.
Did he do that? I didn't think he did do that.
I think there's still a tax penalty if you don't.
Yeah, but maybe it's not enforced. Yeah. Adam Gibson, chief of staff, wasn't.
Yeah, she managed the campaign. She proved it. So, yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
And also, I heard that she's the person who has a grievance against DeSantis. Like she's worked for. Tell me, didn't she used to work for DeSantis and then he fired her? And that's
that right?
That's why it's not looking favorable for DeSantis.
I'm gonna move this up here so we can make sure we're in focus. There we go. Yeah, we've never done this live, so we're still figuring this out. But we have a nice mic. It doesn't look at all like a penis between us. The penis between us. Oh my God, that's my autobiography.
I thought that was what it said in your tombstone.
Yeah, oh, that too. Yeah. All right, what do you got?
Oh, there's one more quote I got.
Oh, give me some tweets. Oh, I deleted Twitter finally.
What? Why?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because
Trump won?
No, I did it before Trump won. I've never liked Twitter, but pre-Elon, I've always hated it. It's not for me. It's too just mind space. Like, it's not me. Yeah. So I'm like, what am I getting out of this? I have 100,000 followers. Joe Rogan follows me. Like all these people follow me. I'm like, who cares?
You lost
delete.
Rogan follow?
I lost Rogan, and I'm fine with it. Honestly, I was ready to delete all my social media, but my assistant Risa wouldn't let me do it. Let's see. I'll read some comments while you're doing that. Yeah. I think the best move DJT ever did was to hire his #1 hater and even get Elon Musk on his side. Oh, right, because the electric vehicle thing.
Well, they did
Well, Elon's acting in his best interest.
That's true,
he wants to back the winning horse,
too. And I do think the Biden administration
slighted him. Yeah.
And I also think that, I think he fundamentally does believe that regulation. He has, some nice video where he talked about all of the sorts of regulation he faces to get SpaceX and Tesla to market, and some of it is just pointless bureaucracy.
Yeah, bureaucracy
that holds him back.
Yeah, he does need to be unleashed a little bit. Although go ahead.
Editor-in-chief Laura Helmuth of Scientific American, the magazine. Siam. Quote, I apologize to younger voters that my Gen X is so full of fucking fascists. Solidarity to everyone whose meanest, dumbest, most bigoted high school classmates are celebrating early results because fuck them to the moon and back. Every 4 years I remember why I left Indiana where I grew up and remember why I respect the people who stayed and are trying to make it less racist and sexist. The moral arc of the universe isn't going to bend itself. This person is the editor-in-chief. First of all, if you're the editor-in-chief of Scientific America, literally the only thing you have to do...
Shut the fuck up
That's all you have to do. Yeah.
And you're dehumanizing in the way that, an enemy army would dehumanize an enemy. This is the classic John Haidt distortion of there are only good and bad people in the world. Right? And so these bad people are truly bad. What? She's supposed to be a scientist representing a scientific publication?
Well, the publication has gone to shit a long time ago.
Well, yeah, that's a long time ago.
Okay. Quote, wow. Any advice for what workplaces can do to help people who are devastated by the election? She runs a workplace, and her workplace is hostile to anyone who voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Because she said, you're a fucking fascist.
Yeah.
And then,
and you can't get anything published unless it's about DEI.
I do think that you can't get anything published in that journal that has anything to do disagrees with the most draconian COVIDian view. So I think that she should be fired. Obviously, I'm not a fan of cancel culture. It's not canceling when you're an editor and your only job is to not be overtly biased and you go crazy. And then she issued an apology. Let me read you the apology.
Oh, by the way, there's 500 people watching right now.
Wow.
You know what?
Sorry.
It's the middle of a school day. That's how badass VPZD is. Yes, sir.
Laura. I made a series of offensive and inappropriate posts on my personal Blue Sky account. She probably thought I was going to read it. It was a fucking Blue Sky. No one's on Blue Sky. Okay, on a personal Blue Sky account on election night.
Mastodon.
On Mastodon. I was screaming into the air on Mastodon, and somebody saw me. I'm sorry. I respect and value people across the political spectrum. That's when you like literally like you fucking fashion. And then I respect and value. Okay, these posts, which I have deleted, do not reflect my beliefs. They were a mistaken expression of my shock and confusion about the election results.
Shouldn't have been shocked. Shouldn't have been confused.
Because you're just living in a bubble.
Yeah.
Okay. These posts, of course, do not reflect the position of Scientific American or my colleagues.
Of course.
Of course.
Except that they do. Yeah. If you ask anybody there, they're like Trump. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. Except
they have Trump deranged in all of them. Yeah.
TDS full blown.
Right.
I'm committed to civil communication and editorial objectivity. Comma, you fucking fascist. No, she didn't say it. She didn't say the last one.
There was one funny
somebody said, what is Blue Sky? Blue Sky is some shit website they made that they knocked off Twitter.
Compete with Twitter.
Yeah. It's a decentralized platform.
Right.
Let's just say it's like, I heard somebody said, here's a PDF on how you can use it. And I was like, bitch, if you gotta look at some PDF.
If you gotta look at a PDF.
To fucking figure out some social media.
When you can just go X or tweet or whatever. Someone on Threads told me, I refuse to call it X. I'm going to continue to call it Twitter because just like Elon uses the dead name of his daughter.
Well, that's what Elon said. That's called dead naming.
Dead naming, right?
I don't know what they're... And then I saw all these people deleting... you delete Twitter for a different reason, not to protest Elon.
No, I deleted because I told people, like, if I get 100,000 followers on Threads as a joke, I'll delete Twitter. And then I did, and I hadn't tweeted in a year, and I'm like, well, I'll just delete Twitter. Plus, I just hate all of it. I'm going to delete Threads and X.
Who's on Threads?
Honestly. No one. Well, no, actually, look, the people on Threads that follow me, there's like 100,000.
Those are the cool people.
They're the good kids.
The coolest 100,000
They're all
people.
like healthcare professionals. They're sweet people. They're very civil. We don't talk about anything controversial. I just post my videos there, which are all controversial.
I see.
They're like, basically the controversy in my videos are, you're an illusion, you don't exist, all thought is a lie, and everything is emptiness manifesting as form.
The deepest controversies of Western civilization, Western philosophical thought.
Right, exactly.
But what's interesting is that video doesn't get the same lunatic responses.
No, it never does. No. Yeah. You know why? Why would that be? You said it in our last thing. Why you don't talk to reporters? Why? Why don't you talk to reporters?
Because they just take you out of context.
That's right. So what is video? Video is right there, full context. You can clip a piece out of context. But if you have to watch the whole thing, you're going to realize we're not the biggest assholes in the world.
Yeah.
We're just 90% the
biggest. Medium. It's so interesting because... what was I going to say about that? Oh, somebody clipped a video of me, a 2-minute video, and then I said, things that support RFK childhood vaccination stuff. And then I was like, huh? And then I watched the video and I was like, I said nothing of the sort. And then I tweeted and I said, oh, did this person accurate someone's video? And then they deleted the post instantly. Because they can't even, I'm like,
that's it.
Listening comprehension, reading comprehension.
Yep. And both political parties do that, but the left has been really good about doing that to Trump and he said that on Rogan, right? He was like, remember when they said this about me, the good people on all sides, they they took it out of context, they did this, they did that. They make him look, if you, let's give some people the benefit of the doubt, even though they should know better. Okay. If you believed everything the mainstream media said about Donald Trump, you would be mortified that he is becoming president beyond hope of redemption. You would think America was totally fucking stupid. So what if you look at that fundamental belief that the mainstream media is quoting him in context, understanding the nuance of what he's saying, and actually conveying it? And what if that wasn't true? Then would this be the catastrophe that you think it is?
I feel like the mainstream media, they need to hire people who live in Indiana and Illinois and Texas and have an office in Illinois where people fucking come and face to work. Like, to have all these New York Times reporters sitting in their house on Zoom talking to only New York Times people in Manhattan parties. They have no idea. They have no idea what it's like. You're from Clovis, California, from LaPorte, Indiana. I talk to my high school friends. You have like much closer finger on the pulse.
They know what's up.
They know what's up.
And the truth is, the right-wing, more right-side-leaning media, the Breitbarts and the Fox News do that as well.
Yes.
But it seems to me, it's weird. It's less blatant in some way. Like, it's almost like, well, here, look, like what they'll do is they'll say they want to fucking, surgerize transgender illegals in prison or something. And it's like, well, I'm not quite sure that's what they said, right?
Sure that's what they said,
so, but
they something a little bit like that.
Yeah. Exactly. I actually don't know. I don't know anything about that. But so I don't know. And as a libertarian, I'm like, I would love you to be as trans as you want to be. I just don't want to be told what I need to do.
Oh,
right?
that's easy.
It.
And then also, I think the children issue is obviously a live wire.
Yeah, the children stuff. Yeah, there's a live wire. And the bathroom thing and the sports thing. Those are the gray areas where it's like, okay, let's have a conversation.
And MSM. mainstream media. Yeah, well, I mean, they're terrible. I just think that they've gone down. And I think that the proof of the decline is like, how many people watched that Rogan interview? Like 4 million?
And how many people give two shits that Beyonce endorsed Kamala?
Without singing, by the way.
Oh.
You know, she didn't do any show.
What?
She took like 10 million to say, I support Kamala. And then people were like, yeah, do the show. And then she didn't. And then Kamala came on and like some people were booing because they want, come on, do some song and dance. Beyonce, what are we doing here?
If you like it, you better put a ring on it. Man.
I mean I would have.
You know what? By the way, people who are watching this live, you will realize we don't edit our VPZDs.
No,
this is how we do our VPZDs.
Uncut.
Yeah. This is probably how we should do it from now on.
Yeah, I think maybe this is how we should do it.
Unless we say the G word. If we drop grangies at any point.
Okay, why did Trump win? Here's my essay.
Yeah.
This is from drvinayprasad.com.
That's his other half. Yeah. That's the half that's pronouns are they, them.
Doctor and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Hyde, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Hyde didn't go to 4 years of evil medical school to be called Mr. All right.
Yeah, I didn't what did I say? The first thing I said was, I had a dinner recently with some colleagues and they asked me to predict the election. I got every state, but I got Minnesota wrong. I thought Minnesota would go to Trump.
Oh, right, yeah.
So that's
a tough one, man. That's a blue state.
I know, but I thought that, even with Walls.
Yeah. Maybe, especially because of Walls.
And I can't even tell the jokes. Trump made some devastating Walls jokes at that, what was that dinner? The Al Smith dinner in New York City.
Wow.
Oh, you haven't watched?
I gotta see, I haven't seen it.
Like his jokes were good.
Oh, wow.
I mean, maybe
he's a funny dude.
Yeah, the jokes are good. Okay. And I also find it interesting that the pundits were completely off the mark, and then now they're so quickly, they say, now we know why.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Kamala's definitely going to win, and, well, now we know why how Trump won, yeah.
Dude, don't you love Alan Lichtenstein, the guy who, like, predicts every election since, and he's like, well, the problem was, my calculations were correct. It's just, he keeps moving the goalposts.
Yeah, he had to eat shit.
Yeah.
And then, there was that fucking pollster, Ann Stetzler from Iowa, and then they showed like she had gotten 6 in a row, pretty close to accurate, and then she predicted Kamala by 7 in Iowa, which was an absurd prediction, and she was off by like 17 fucking points because it went to Trump, obviously, by 11 to Trump, and then people were like, oh, how did she get it wrong? I was like, here's how it went wrong. Like, how many people are there predicting the election? Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands? By chance alone, if you flip a coin, it's hard to get 6 heads. But if you let 10,000 people flip a coin and you say, anyone who got 6 heads in a row, put your hand up, somebody's going to put their hand up. You know what I mean? So, of course, the multiplicity, the number of permutations, that's a variable. So, of course, some pollster has gotten everything right. Just like some, if you ask 4th graders to predict NCAA tournament, not 4th graders, somebody's going to get it all right.
Yeah.
By chance, not because they know anything about basketball, right?
Do you want to hear something that'll blow your mind, VP? What? So in a related news, the monkey that if you have enough monkeys at a typewriter, they'll type out Shakespeare. It turns out someone did math on this and it made an article in the news. And the math was, we know the extant number of chimpanzees. We know the extant date that the universe will suffer complete heat death. So we have a time course and a number of monkeys.
Yeah.
They are unable to create even, apparently just to say banana is a probabilistic, like it would take like 100,000 lifetimes of a chimpanzee.
I see, because they're 26 characters.
Exactly. So it's just it just becomes this probability. That said, if you had an infinite universe, yes, and infinite monkeys, even more so.
I see.
Yeah. So infinite pollsters.
But also the pollsters don't have as many axis of degrees of freedom. They're just predicting one way or the other way.
Good point. So they're more constrained.
They're more constrained.
All right. Any more math we want to teach her?
I guess a better analogy would be like, can a monkey get binary code? Can it get a 10-digit binary digit?
Oh, so we should do that math because it's a simple probabilistic calculation. We did it. We got intellectual. Adam Gibson says the aggregate of polling is how they should be reading it. Is that true, though?
I don't know. I think that the problem with that is, if you put a meta-analysis is only as good as what you put in the blender. A smoothie's only as good as what you put in the blender.
That's
so, like, if there's a net bias in everything, in this case, the bias was every single poll Trump under polls.
Yeah.
The polls were dead even.
Yeah.
But Trump won by a lot.
Yeah.
Trump. And he won the popular vote. Who the hell saw that? He probably like 4 million, 5 million. So Trump is somebody who doesn't poll. Why is that the case? Because these people polling, first of all, what are they doing? They're calling some subset of phone numbers who answer. First of all, who even answers the phone from an unknown number? That's one. Yeah. 2, and if they answer the phone and like, hello, hi, my name is Robert, and I have some questions for you. You're like, go fuck yourselves. Hang up the phone. Have you ever let them get past that?
Nope.
No.
Like
bang.
So the kind of people who get through, it's a certain selection bias too.
Yeah. And then they're like, who are you going to vote for? Are you going to vote for the first female black president, or are you going to vote for a fascist,
a racist fascist.
Yeah, right. So that's how they ask the question, and you're like, oh, well, if you put it that way.
If you put it that way, Young over here said something to the effect of people are tired of the elites telling them how to be. So again, it's this kind of naggy.
They're so naggy
kind of vibe, like. And you see this in some of the ads too, like when Barack Obama went out and was like, "Black guys, what are you doing? Stop misbehaving. Stop being so uppity."
He fucked that up, and he also himself had said that that's not a good tactic. And I think that nobody tells you the worst example of elites telling you what you should do is COVID. Yeah. I mean, is it not?
It is. It is. And we're still recovering from that.
You need to stay in your house.
You need to close the schools.
You need to close. You need another booster. They abandoned social services. They abandoned poor kids. They abandoned black kids. The party that claims to defend, minority and poor children, they screwed them.
You know what? They looked in that period.
Disappointed. Disappointed about what?
But no, it looks disappointed. He's disappointed by just being in my presence. I'm that much better. Right. So they showed again this idea that the rich top of the Maslow's hierarchy preaching down the pyramid is not a good look, and it doesn't benefit the down pyramid people. It never has, really. I mean, you could say, okay, civil rights, great. That was a success. Old school liberal.
Let me go. You've bridged it perfectly to the issues.
Do it.
Okay. So for my theory with Trump is a couple things. One thing I want to preface this by saying is that, people say by
the way, he's looking at Pornhub. He's not actually...
My blood pressure was too high, Zubin. I gotta bring it down. Okay. I don't come to your house and tell you how this.
That's true. I'm a Naggy elite. Yeah.
Okay. So it's true. So the first thing I want to say is that, I think people think that the gold standard to know how someone voted is, imagine we asked everyone when they came out of the polling booth, why did you vote the way you voted? And they say, well, I voted because of immigration. So we write that one immigration, one this. But to be honest, that's not even the gold standard, because that's just how they say they voted. The real gold standard would be if you had candidates embody different things and then you repeat the experiment. Like if you made Trump a little bit more pro-immigration, would they then vote for him?
Right.
But so you can't do the perfect study.
That's right.
But my point is that stated versus actual preferences are different things. Having said that, there's not even any good survey on stated preferences. I mean, the literature is very crappy.
And I'll just say this real quick. BK Standard, who just donated $5, says Trump won because the economy is bad, and Kamala said she wouldn't do anything differently. She also went on Breakfast Club instead of Joe Rogan. Exactly.
Well, so I think a couple of things are going to come up in my list. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to say is I'm going to give a big list of topics.
Okay.
And I want to argue that I bet for some people, it's going to be the economy. For some people, it's going to be immigration. For some people, it's going to be how they campaigned.
Right.
And he's building a patchwork of different groups of people, and that's how he's getting over the total. Some people are voting based on some, and so here are the things I think they're voting on. One, immigration. So I think whether, the original Biden-Harris allowed a huge influx of undocumented immigrants in the beginning. They then wanted congressional action, claiming they couldn't use executive action, which of course they could use, and they ultimately did use executive action.
Right.
So they kind of obviously lied or misled about their ability to use executive action to do something. They didn't do anything about it. And then, of course, you get, stories of illegal immigrant killing some girl in a college town.
And it's blown up into a big generalization.
It's blown up into a big generalization. And it's also that's not good for anyone's politics. If you let in somebody illegally and then they kill some college girl, that's fucked up.
Remember Dukakis and the furloughed...
I don't remember. I'm not that old. How fucking old do you think
Sometimes I forget I'm dealing with a child, a millennial, the worst of the child.
Don't you remember when Lincoln was campaigning?
Don't you remember when Lyndon B. Johnson said...
So what did Dukakis
do? It was George Bush ran the Willie Horton ad that Dukakis had furloughed this... It was a black guy, furloughed him, and he went out and killed someone. And that was considered one of the earliest...
because he was soft on crime.
Or soft on crime, and also this racial tinge to it and all of that.
I see.
And the Bush campaign actually kind of distanced itself from that after. H.W. Bush.
I see. Yeah, H.W. And he crushed Dukakis that year.
He did. He crushed him. Mostly because Dukakis went in a tank. Remember that? Sorry, you weren't alive.
No, it was 88. I was alive.
He tried to look hard on defense, and he sat in a tank, and he's 5 foot tall. He's like me, and he looked like a total tool bag.
But meanwhile, Trump pulled off the truck, the garbage truck.
Oh, but the liberals said that, look, he's almost fell. He couldn't even open the door. He looks like an idiot. So it all depends on your
I think that's another way liberals don't have their finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
Okay, then my next thing, inflation. So obviously Biden-Harris, they put too much capital in the markets.
Yeah.
They had a huge capital injection. Trump had already injected capital, which is probably sufficient. They put more capital in the markets. Of course, Larry Summers, the Harvard economist, he himself predicted it would lead to inflation. Yeah. They didn't listen to him. And then inflation, the next part about inflation is, people like who I think is a very good communicator, Buttigieg. He was on TV saying that,
he's a great voice of the liberal like thinker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we know each other from like high school days.
You and the Buddha judge?
Like from that, yeah, he's from one town over 1 year ahead of me.
That's crazy. Yeah, cool.
2 equally successful people.
Yes.
2
equally.
Well, Buddha is successful. Okay,
but he's more successful because he's gay.
Is that
I consider that a notch.
Oh, I see. That identity. I see.
Identity.
Oh, that's the accomplishment is what you're
saying. That's right.
I got it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I fall short there. Okay. So, by being a straight man. Okay. So, but here's the thing. He kept saying that inflation is down. So technically, like this quarter, inflation is 2%. Before it was higher, 7%. Right. But what people forget is it's a cumulative.
Yes, cumulative. So the price is already up.
Yeah, it's already up and it's good. So you mean it's going up slower?
Right.
Well, fuck you. It's too high. What the fuck are you
now
talking
you can talk about wage growth. What's going on with wage growth?
And you can talk about purchasing power and wage growth.
Yep.
But they didn't. And also, you know, I hate to say it, but there's something about it. Like even if you have the ability to purchase it and it doesn't harm you.
Yeah. There's a perception.
There's a perception. It's like, this used to be fucking cheaper and it's more expensive, so fuck you.
Yeah.
Like there's something about it. Like I fucking hate to see it so high.
And politics is psychology.
And you know, as Indians, we hate that. That's like our kryptonite.
Do you know the Camry when I bought in 2012?
You could buy a perfectly good Camry.
28,000.
And now 42.
Now 42. And they got rid of the knobs. No more knobs.
No more knobs. You're getting less car, more money.
More money.
Exactly. Guns. So this, I think, is an interesting issue because guns, I don't think, was a major voting issue because the Dems have completely taken the Republican position.
Yeah.
Kamala's like, I'll fucking shoot you. She's like, yeah, bitch.
Yeah.
And Tim Walz is like shooting pigeons or whatever the fuck he's doing.
Totally.
I'm like, you know, the proponents have won completely. They're all on the same page on guns. Abortion. Very interesting issue. You know,
abortion. Let's talk about that. Yeah,
let's talk about that. As two men, we're
going to mansplain.
Who better
to
talk about?
Yes.
I keep saying who better than us.
That's right.
So what Dobbs did was done, and I think they paid the price for Republicans in the midterm.
Yep.
And Dobbs transferred the decision of abortion to the states. And the other point I make in my essay is that, like, you know, Roe, even liberal scholars like Akhil Amar from Yale felt that Roe was wrongly decided. It was an overreach to say there was a constitutional protection for abortion. And certainly under the privacy law, he thought the privacy clause was thought it would be an overreach. So many people think Dobbs was an okay decision. The Democrats had an opportunity, I think, when Obama first came into office to codify Roe into law when they had 60 senators with Ted Kennedy. They didn't do it. And now it goes to the states. And then I think that one thing that and Trump said he's not going to go any further, which I think people believe, because I think people do. I mean,
I think he doesn't give two shits about abortion.
I don't think people look at Trump and think
there's a guy who's passionate about anything moral.
Yeah, there's a guy who's passionate anti-abortion. Right. Yeah. I was like, Trump. You look at him and you're like, he's probably willing to say,
he's gonna go whatever it takes to get in the job.
Like I don't think he. So I think people believe him. He's not going to go further. And Democrats' messaging on that was not persuasive. And then finally, the final data point is that the number of abortions, here's the graph from Guttmacher, it's up actually post-Roe. There's actually more abortions than there were before.
People are trying to get him in before, you know.
You just get it, man.
I just get it in, yeah.
I saw some crazy person on Twitter. I wish I could find the tweet, but it was something like, because Trump's president, I'm going to put an IUD in my 12-year-old. I'm like, I'm like, whoa. Because they're crazy. I mean,
I have heard people who are looking at colleges now, and they're saying, I don't want to go into a college in a state. I don't want to send my kid to a college in a state that actually has banned abortion because you know they're going to knock someone up or get knocked up, and then they're going to have to fly back here. Yeah.
So by that logic, then you'll never let your kid do study abroad in India.
Exactly.
No, because if you're in India and you hit your head, the medical care is worse.
Yeah.
To me, I find it's so offensive to listen to these morons say this thing, which is like, yes, of course. I mean, you can imagine a scenario where the risk to a woman is slightly higher if they don't have such abortion service available, but that risk has to be infinitesimal compared to all the risks of life.
Yeah.
And to make a decision based on that is just theater and not actually a risk assessment.
It's a moral statement you're making. Yeah, exactly.
So then you can't go to college in a rural town. Like, I'm only going to college in level 1 trauma center.
Yep.
Oh, no, it's not touchscreen.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'll show a level 1 trauma center.
Level 1 trauma center.
Yeah, with academic center.
Academic center. I'm only going to go to a place where there's, where there's at least 4 hospitals. I mean, come on.
No natural disasters.
No, yeah, obviously hurricanes.
Speaking of morals, Ariane says, number 1, she says, everything will be better with Trump with multiple exclamation points, followed by, stop cussing so much. To which I say, go fuck yourself.
Well, unfortunately, that's not a...
We get that commonly, people telling us to stop cussing. And then we get that commonly, people telling us to cuss more.
It's, you never, listen.
It's a moral fiber thing.
It's
like some people have a sanctity versus degradation taste bud that just hates cursing.
Even JD said it like, he's like, he grew up in a house where people swore a lot.
Yeah.
On Rogan. And I think that's,
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Transgendered issues. So I do think that there's a subset of people who vote, and that's an issue for them. And what I think they feel uneasy about is biological men competing against biological women in sports, and laws like those in California, which increasingly cut the parent out of the conversation.
Right.
Like the teacher can talk to the doctor, and the doctor can talk to the surgeon, but then the only person who fucking doesn't know is the parent. Like that strikes us the wrong
person
way.
with like the least formed frontal lobes is given the most power. Now they should have a say.
They should have some.
Obviously, yeah.
They should have some.
But the parents should be involved.
Yeah.
Unless there's some abuse or something going on.
Yeah. And I'm like,
I think most people feel that way. Maybe some would disagree. Maybe some would make a compelling argument otherwise. But I'm not those some.
I love teachers, but the vetting process to be a teacher is not enough to supplant the authority of a parent.
That's right.
So I think people are bothered by that. Follow the science. I think there's a fraction of people who what the Dems did on COVID was so fucked up. Cloth masks, 2-year-olds, millions of forced vaccines, firing people, ignoring myocarditis, VIT, the teachers working with the unions to keep school closed, and all the while saying we're following the science. Well, just lying. I think some people, they lost on that. Censorship, I write, although it is de rigueur to call Trump a fascist, it's Biden-Harris that censors the free speech of Americans, not Trump.
Yeah. Trump actually, via Facebook.
Twitter. Trump takes a lot of criticism, more than
he doesn't censor it.
He takes a lot. I mean, he's taken probably more than any human living in human history.
It's probably true.
Israel, I think, at least Israel-Palestine is an animating thing. I think some people may view Trump as more friendly to Israeli interests and vote for that reason. Then the next part, Trump's personality and TDS. Some voters may vote for Trump because they enjoy Trump's personality. They might find him funny or entertaining. And some people may vote for him just because he angers people they dislike, those elite coastal elites. They may not know anything or care about any issue, but believe the elite Democrats think that average people are beneath them. They think that us Midwesterners are scum. They act like, I've been crying for 2 hours because, these people are not good people. And they want to vote for Trump just to say, fuck you guys. Fuck you. You think I'm a bad person? Well, fuck you. Then we'll give you the thing that hurts you the most. You have to watch him every day on TV, and we'll laugh at you crying. And I'd laugh at you on Blue Sky, but I won't be there.
Because I'll be on Mastodon.
I'll be on Mastodon.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other thing about Trump derangement syndrome, which, I guess, it was coined, and I didn't actually like it for some time until I actually started to think it's true. This thing, why a pediatric group is pushing to reopen schools this fall. June 30th, 2020. Trump pushes for state leaders to reopen schools in the fall. July 7th, 2020. Nation's pediatricians walk back support for in-person school.
That was the thing. They had Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah.
Full-blown TDS. It's 2 o'clock. Trump says it's 2 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock, damn it. And I'll be damned if it's 2 o'clock.
Actually, so I'm actually increasingly, I think I felt this way at the election. I'm not upset about any of this stuff. I'm upset at what you're pointing at in general across the board. Humans just don't, they're purely acting out of irrational impulses and movements of belief, right? And look, you can do that, but then you better accept that you're doing it. And you better have some self-examination to go, is this causing me and others suffering? Like, is Trump for 4 years going to be president now, and I'm going to suffer the whole time every time I open my news app? Like, well, okay, then there's a couple solutions to that. You could delete the news app.
Yeah, delete the news app.
Just delete the news app. That's what my wife did. And it wasn't because so much of Trump and all that. She was just like, you know what? I'm tired of all this. Like, I'm tired of reading about any of this. And so now what I do is I read the news because it kind of helps with certain things that I do.
It's so interesting.
And I tell her what's important.
I tell you, everyone, there's no secret. Of course, of all the things that bothered me in the last 5 years, it's the COVID that bothered me the most. Yeah. And it wasn't because I was reading about it. It's because I was fucking living it. Yes. Like when you get an email in your inbox and it says, Dr. Prasad, if you don't get your booster by blah, blah, blah date, you're going to be terminated from employment. Right. And you know that my whole fucking expertise is knowing that this is an unnecessary booster. And then these fuckers are still forcing me to do it. It makes me so angry. And I was like, I vow that I will get fucking revenge on you all over this mandate.
So how different is that? The lived experience is affected, so you're going to go to bat versus like, the brain experience is affected because I'm reading in my feed that a fascist is now president again, right?
Well, yeah, the fascist who's president I don't think he's compelled me to do anything in my life.
Just pay more fucking tax.
Well, the salt
for
deduction.
Me, yeah, salt,
the salt deduction. But the Biden-Harris administration did compel me to take a medical product that I thought was unnecessary, and they didn't listen to anyone, and it blew up in their face. And they were wrong about it, and they still don't admit that they're wrong, and they have the audacity to censor people. So to me,
who's going to be Surgeon General? Does it matter?
Somebody asking, well, it's not a job I want, but I guess to me, Surgeon General is largely an empty ceremonial job. You have to wear that stupid suit.
You have to go on all the cigarette boxes.
Do you?
No. I don't want to be the guy that harshes your mellow. Like, smoke a cigarette if you want to smoke a cigarette. Who am I to say don't do it? Except that I'm going to say don't do it because it's not good for you.
Yeah.
Vape instead.
I mean,
don't do that either.
What, they did that in the 60s and that had some effect, the Surgeon General warning on like tobacco usage. So maybe, but what have you done for me lately, Surgeon General? I mean,
Duke, look, what the fuck was Reagan's Surgeon General's name? The famous guy. You're too young again. It was, God damn it. He was the guy. C. Everett Koop.
Yeah,
C. Everett Koop was the gold standard of Surgeon
great,
General. The beard, the mutton chops, and he'd had a few things that he activated about like the AIDS epidemic and things like that.
But what did Vivek Murthy did? I see he collected $2 million from. This is where I step.
I have to recuse myself because Vivek is a friend. But yes,
like him. Carnival Cruise Line, Netflix, Airbnb. He stuffed his pockets with their cash. He came in and he presided over an unethical vaccine mandate. He kept pushing masks like a nitwit. He wanted people to vaccinate their kids. He kept talking about why there's no unity and why we're so lonely when he was part of an administration that supports lockdowns. I was like, shut the fuck up. Okay, so he did jack shit in my opinion. And I think then the next, and then what about Jerome Adams? That, oh my God.
So the previous Trump Surgeon General, but now.
Well, Trump picked him because Pence knew him.
Right.
So let's just say,
he was an Indiana guy.
The last person you want to introduce yourself to friends is Pence. It's like, hey, Mike Pence, you got any good ideas for this dinner party? It's like, fuck, that's not gonna be a good invite.
I got one friend. His name is Jesus.
Jesus. Set him a place.
He'll turn the water into wine. You won't have to. You'll save a lot on Costco wine.
And now Jerome, did you see, he has a tweet where he said that like, you know, just because we have to live with COVID doesn't mean we have to like be extreme about it. I've just purchased all these Dyson air purifiers to keep my house pure. I'm like, were you working for Dyson?
We don't want to be extreme about it, right, Dyson? Exactly.
Are you working for Dyson? There's no evidence that putting Dyson purifiers everywhere.
Oh man. How are there still 500 and some odd people watching this?
I don't know.
We're just talking shit.
Dems, Trump's campaign versus Harris campaign. Trump did, and Vance subjected themselves to more hostile interviews.
They did a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Like Vance on that thing. And he's like, you know, only a handful of apartment complexes have been taken over by Venezuelan gangs. And he's like, Martha, listen to yourself. Only a handful of American apartment complex. It should be 0. What the hell's wrong with you? You know, he crushed her. And on Rogan, they did better. And Harris, who is advising her? Tell her not to do Rogan. Go on Rogan and fight for what you know, like actually put up some.
I feel like if Harris didn't have listened to all these people, she actually, if she were authentic, she might have run a really good campaign.
And that's one thing he has. He doesn't listen to anybody. He's authentic.
Or he listens to so many people, but he just is like, this is what I'm doing after listening to everybody.
I honestly think that was why, like, we all know the thing that cost him the 2020 election was COVID.
Yeah.
And that's because the media like framed him as like a complete buffoon, and then you're all trapped. But his intuition was probably to do nothing.
Right. Which is always the right intuition in public health. Yeah, it's like, always the right.
Take the minimalist stance.
It was said in House of God by my friend Sam Shem, the best medicine is doing a whole lot of nothing.
A whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, because most of what we do is harmful.
So that's something. Okay, Dems messaging that Trump will steal democracy was unbelievable. I do think that, like, the average person's like, oh, at the age of 82, supposedly, and he'll be 82 in 2028.
Right.
And then somehow
he's going to rise up and
steal democracy so he can hold on to it till he's 86. Right. I think it's implausible.
Yeah. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's implausible.
I guess 82-year-olds generally can be pushed aside.
We're looking at Biden here. Like,
older than Biden.
Yeah, I know. He'll be older than Biden. That's right.
Dems messaging that Trump is just as demented as Biden fell flat. I think people can see Joe Biden has declined. Trump is the same.
Watch Trump on Rogan. And you'll see that he's not suffering from dementia.
Of course he's not. He's
sharp
as he was. In fact, they made the joke on with J.D. Vance. He's looking younger every year.
He's like a Benjamin Button. Yeah,
he's looking. True. I'm like, what is he doing? He's looking younger.
It's true. Leslie says, during COVID, you seemed to be even-tempered, measured, and reassuring. You two seemed like you are hopped up on something.
Oh boy,
we're hopped up on
unfortunately nothing.
Being alive. Yeah,
unfortunately, I've only been drinking.
Wait, we seemed calm and collected during COVID? How many times did we rant and rave during COVID?
I think that maybe part of it is that because there was such high censorship, we did have to tread very cautiously.
That's true. You couldn't say certain things.
I mean, what would you do? They demonetize, they stripped the video. It was already difficult. Like, how can I put it? To me, to live in a world where you couldn't just say what you thought about masking 2-year-olds and you had to really come at it very gingerly.
Right. Well, and the way that I found to do that was to talk a lot with Monica Gandhi, who was really good at like
she was real good,
calmly and very maternally saying, "Look, guys, like, yeah, okay, there's a vaccine now, so guess what? We can take the mask off. We can open up everything. We can let's stop talking about this." Of course, nobody listens. Travis says, what do you think about changing dietary guidelines, top 3 changes?
I know this is in vogue,
Does anyone listen to the fucking dietary guidelines? Let me ask that. Like, we think the government actually controls what we eat?
That's a great point. So I think the one point to make is that these guidelines should go in the trash heap and they shut the fuck up. But I do think the question is, what do you do for subsidies?
Yes, that's what's important.
Yeah, farm subsidies, corn subsidies. And what are the guidelines around like school lunch programs?
In Japan, they have these amazing lunches. Yeah.
I think that like if you're trying to tell school lunch what's healthy based on macronutrients, it's going to be gamed.
Yeah.
If you really want to have better school lunches, I think hire a fucking French chef and give him a budget and say, here's your budget, make him some fucking home cooked food.
Yeah.
You know, like really
with real ingredients.
And then I think also you randomize. So you randomize schools to different types of chefs and then actually measure health outcomes. But I think that like for me, the most important thing I would do is like school. I think this is what Bobby Kennedy says. I think, and this is where like people who call him a kook and all those things. The one thing that they have to be honest about is when he says that we need better lunches for kids in schools, I think everyone should say, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And give him credit where credit is.
I mean, Satan himself could say that and I'd agree. I'd be like, yeah.
Unless you have TDS. Then he'd be like, well, fuck these kids. Trump said they need better lunches. American Academy of Pediatrics says kids should go hungry. Trump wants them to be fat. You know, those
TDS, like the total delirium satanicus?
Trump.
Yes. Trump derangement syndrome, both. RFK is poking after that 10,000%, going after that 10,000%. I don't know what that means.
Remove saturated fat limits. Yeah, I would be skeptical of those kinds of things. Because you can still make, like Travis is saying, remove the saturated fat limits
and the
remove 17-gram linoleic acid recommendation, change carb recommendation. You change these things, they're going to make some other processed piece of shit that just skirts these numbers.
And they game it. And some industry will make a ton of money.
Correct. I'd be very cautious about nutritional change based on micro and macronutrients.
I think that's a great way to say it. Forget about like, eat this much protein, eat this much fat. How about this? Eat real food, grown preferably locally if you can, because it's just better in general.
You're a rich California.
I'm a rich guy. I can do that. Everybody else is like,
I got to get my avocados from Mexico, my friend.
Remember when Dr. Oz? He's like, I'm trying to make a crudité.
Yeah, he's like, imagine your grocery store trying to prepare a crudité, and
that's why Oz lost.
He's out of touch.
So let's talk about it. Oz was a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Oz was like fully on board with that. And Fetterman.
And by the way, did you see Fetterman on Rogan?
No.
Oh, he's so good.
Fetterman's awesome.
Fetterman's awesome.
He's awesome.
I mean, Fetterman, like, I just think, like, he's an authentic guy.
He's an authentically who he is.
He's like, why you wear a hoodie? And he was like, yeah, like, if I had to wear a regular shirt, like, I'd have to. And actually, I disagree with him. I think he looks like a slob. So, okay. But he gave a great answer. He's like, I'd like, if I had to wear, like, a regular suit, I'd have to, like, iron that. And, like why? And it's, like, not comfortable. I'm, like, so big. And then he's like, also, I got, like, scrawny legs. And, like, in a suit, like, I look really weird. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like a regular answer.
People respond to authenticity. They actually do.
Oz is such a poser.
Oz is the least authentic person you'll ever meet.
Oh, like I've been living in New Jersey. I mean, Pennsylvania. Where are we? Where am I running?
Which $10 million estate do I live in? Fucking Oz.
Fuck you. Okay, so now the next part. So these are things that I think Bobby, Casey, Callie means all, like, everyone will agree. What a Trump president can be for healthcare. I had 9 things. I think I have 10 things. 1, conflict of interest has to go. This is a point J.D. Vance made on Rogan, which was that, when I was growing up, the Democrats were the party that said we shouldn't be taking money from pharma, and the Republicans are the party of, like, corporatism. And he's like, Donald Trump has reshaped it. Now, the Dems are in bed with Pfizer.
Right.
And so the idea that, like, and Trump just proposed just now that, like, you shouldn't be able to be head of FDA and then go work for Pfizer. Like Gottlieb.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think
all these guys.
Like all these guys.
Right.
I think Bobby Kennedy's good on this, like ending conflicts of interest. I think that's a huge thing. I don't know why liberals don't support him on it. That's a great thing. Okay, next one. The CDC. The CDC told us to mask 2-year-olds. Babies need boosters. Somebody got to get fired. I just think it's like, I think I'd fire 10,000 people easy. They got 40K employees. They're all working on Zoom, working hard on Zoom. 10,000 can go very quickly. And I would actually investigate who created that 2-year-old masking policy and who didn't stop it. And every one of those fuckers is getting fired. You're just fired for just being so fucking incompetent.
It's a purge, everyone.
Yeah.
It's the Vinay purge.
Well, why are they taking government welfare to be morons? Okay.
No, I
Number
feel
3,
you.
NIH is a failure. You know, they have so much money, they're giving it out, and they create these, the study committees. You know how they give it out, basically? They get a bunch of people who are full of themselves, who are actually pretty shitty scientists. They call study committees. And there's actually data that shows they're not even the best scientists. There's some shit scientists, but they're fucking full of themselves.
Well, they're government people.
No.
They're not.
They're universities.
Oh, I see.
So they build a study section of scientists who have egomaniacs who actually aren't doing the best science. That's been shown. See some papers by, I think, Ioannidis in Nature from 2016. It's called Conform and Be Funded. Okay, so they pick these people and they make them together, and then they make them full self-important, and then they have these little committee where they look at everyone's 100-page proposal, and then they nitpick it, and they're like, actually, this is too daring and innovative. No funding for you. And then, this is a bland and tepid incremental advance. This person is a nothing and nobody. They didn't step on any toes. Fund you. So they, okay, that's how they give out money. That's not a scientific process. And if you should randomize to this stupidity or a modified lottery where you say, we'll take any application that's beyond, spelled correctly. It's like, okay. And we're just going to randomly pick. Then follow 5 years, 10 years later and look at citations and publications. And if there's no difference, then your bureaucracy is pointless.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would do that at NIH.
Yeah. What about now? What do you think of Bobby Kennedy trying to get rid of fluoride in water?
All right. Well, I guess it's so funny. I just asked some student. I haven't looked at all the data.
Yeah, I haven't either.
So I guess on the pro side of fluoride is my understanding is that fluoride prevents cavities.
Correct.
On the con side of fluoride is that some people believe that fluoride causes cognitive decline.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked at that literature. So I looked at one, I was reading one paper today. It was an economics analysis using like staggered difference and difference. It did claim there's a cognitive decline from fluoride, by the way. So it did actually support Bobby Kennedy's claim. But I started to look at it and the methods were so fucking sloppy.
That's the thing. How do you isolate it to the fluoride?
So the economic insight was that not every water system had fluoride implemented at the same time span. So you can do a difference in difference analysis, stratifying for fluoride implementation in different places, which didn't occur at the same time. Right. Meanwhile, secular trends like IQ will be spread. Right, so that's the logic.
Got it.
But to be honest with you, I'll come back to that question because I want to do a full lit review and
understand. Good. Yeah, because I'm interested in this question because I'm actually agnostic on this.
Because in Portland, I didn't have fluoride.
Yeah.
Ding.
So smart. I don't have fluoride because I use reverse osmosis. It takes it all out.
Does it take it out?
And now cavities all the time.
Really?
Well, actually, yeah.
Well, the other thing about, so then I think this begs the question, which is, what is a cavity?
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. My daughter went to the dentist down the street, said, oh, you've got 2 cavities. Showed me where the little thing was sticking. This, that, the other thing. And I'm like, So they charge 200 some odd bucks per cavity to basically, they didn't even have to number because they were that superficial. Drilled them, put it in, tortured her. She's now got sensitivity. They did the same thing.
You're all cured.
You're cured now. You're better. I think it's fucking bullshit. Show me the data that those would have progressed to any problem.
Now you're cooking with
and
gas.
Show me that there isn't a bias.
Now you're cooking with gas.
And I've told them before when they've showed up in me, I'm like, nope, not going to do it. Years later, they've never even brought it up again because they either regressed or they were never there.
They always say the biggest risk factor for cavities is sugar, but the biggest risk factor is a dentist.
A dentist.
Actually, it is.
It is true. If you never saw the dentist.
So, okay. So I'm 100% convinced that if you have a hole in your tooth and it hurts, it requires something.
It requires something.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next thing I'm not convinced on, the x-ray, I think I'm convinced that you shouldn't do it.
I am going to refuse x-rays from now on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For all purposes.
For all purposes. Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. Including my Peyronie's disease. Google it.
Like,
Google it.
Keeps hooking. It's hooking and hooking, but it's only visible on MR. Okay. So, but there's a bone. What is a bone? I was like, is you dolphin?
It's mostly calcified at this point. It's mostly calcified.
That's why. Okay. They have to Google that one.
Yeah, they'll Google it.
Okay, so dentist. Okay, so I'm 100% convinced if you have a hole, fill it. And I'm 100% convinced X-ray is not great. And then what is the definition of cavity? The definition, they have a little metal prong, a little sharp point.
Yep.
And they touch it on the surface of your tooth.
Sticks.
And by stick, they mean as they lift it upward, if there's any resistance on it, any tugging on it, they define that as cavity. Now, where is the evidence, as I come to you, not just the natural history of those things, that if you fill them today, it's better than if you fill them in the future or never, or some of them may never be filled. And they just don't have any evidence for that. So then now I want to look at the fluoride literature with the back end caveat that are we looking at real dental cavities? Are we looking at
bullshit, superficial?
And this is true in every part of medicine where there's
like early breast cancers that would regress if
correct.
you never,
Yes.
Same
like
thing.
every part of medicine, like there is an asymptomatic, clinically biologically inert phenotype of disease, and you shouldn't score that from blood clots on, PICC lines and all that.
I'm with you. I get pissed about this because I just
orthodontics next. I think they also suffer from
orthodontics. Another thing, yeah.
I mean, they're like,
I didn't do it, and look at me.
So I have like many parts that makes me think about. One part is just the simple thing where they're like, quote unquote, the most beautiful smile is where all the teeth are perfectly in place.
Right.
Okay, but my first question is that even true?
Yeah, go do a study.
Correct. And I
People's
think that,
preferences.
You know the actress Margaret Qualley?
I don't, actually.
She's in The Substance.
Oh, I actually don't know her.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
it's first of all, a very good movie. It's by a French director.
Okay.
It's listed as a horror film, but it's hardly a horror film. It's more about a commentary about aesthetics in the world, and particularly around women in Hollywood. Brilliantly filmed, but she's portrayed in that film as like the quintessential it girl. She's like the it girl, like she's the most beautiful girl. Okay, she has a gap between her teeth. Okay, but like I was like, everyone's gonna look at her and see her smile and say like, if anything, it enhances her beauty, right? Like she doesn't have a perfect teeth, but if anything, it enhances her beauty. It doesn't take away from it. Right. So I think the first thing is like, is that even the case? The next thing is, obviously they want to start kids younger and younger in the orthodontist because there's more cash. So can you achieve the same result by doing less of it? Minimize the time in that little. And
they talk like, I just went through this with my daughter. They wanted to pull out 4 of her teeth to make room.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, so what's the data that does anything? Well, some people think this, some people think that. Okay, so I just heard some people think a couple times. I haven't heard anything about data, so we're not doing that.
People are saying.
Yeah, that's right. Some people say.
People are saying
that Venezuelan gangs are raping moms.
No, eating the kitties.
Oh, eating the kitties. They're eating the cats.
Zeke nodded. He looks like BJJ. UFC. Royce?
Oh, wait, what are we talking about? Oh, Steve Hubbard, who donated, says, I won't stop leaving comments until Z acknowledges that he looks like BJJ and UFC legend Royce Gracie. Also, the world needs a VPJRE appearance. I agree with that part. I don't know anything about UFC, but I'll say JRE, why not?
I'd love to go.
Yeah, why not? Invite him, Joe. Come on. You used to follow me on Twitter when I was on Twitter. Now I'm on nothing.
You're like, I'm on Blue Sky. Joe, Blue Sky. Joe, Blue Sky.
Joe, Mastodon at me, bro. Mastodon at me.
Joe Rogan's not going on fucking Mastodon. I just think, to me, they're so pathetic. They didn't delete Twitter when Elon got it. They didn't delete Twitter all this time. But when Elon has success, now they delete it. Like such just like no standards. I don't know what's worse, the people who just stay on and complain.
I was trying to leave it back when the California Academy of Sciences thing went down.
Oh, fuck those people.
Yeah. Fuck them all, dude. All the hell.
They lost so badly.
Yeah, I know. That makes me happy that they're squirming. Yeah.
Well, that's another, like, that's part I'm talking about. Like, that was an example where it actually affected you. Where, like, I just want to go to the science museum. I want to go to
this museum.
And they're like, boost your daughter.
Yeah. Who's going to wear a mask? Has to wear a mask.
And they're like, and where are her dental x-rays? Like, what the fuck?
And she still has 4 extra teeth.
4 extra teeth.
4 extra teeth.
Fucking overtoothed daughter. You're bringing your unvaccinated, overtoothed fucking daughter. You're bringing to
She's overtoothed like your process is overclocked. It's melting.
I haven't seen something this bad since your Peyronie's disease.
All calcified. All of it.
And you won't even get an x-ray.
No. Straight to MR.
The FDA is a failure is my 4th point.
Well, who is BFD?
The FDA.
Oh, the FDA. Oh.
It rubber stamps too many useless products.
Agree.
It needs to remove itself from the picture or demand randomized trials.
Go ahead. They just removed fucking oral phenylephrine.
So they removed oral phenylephrine products from the shelf just to make room for more ineffective products that they're brewed now. We just need the shelf space.
We still got space for guaifenesin.
Yeah. Put some aducanumab up there. We got no space for Exondys 47 and Exondys 57 and aducanumab. No space for the cancer drugs. Get this fucking decongestant off the shelf and put some more useless drugs up. Yeah. They just want different useless drugs on the shelf. The costly ones, not the cheap ones.
Agreed.
Okay.
By the way, it's really homoerotic that we get to share this mic. I just want to let you know that.
CMS should stop paying for things that don't work. I would take 5% of CMS budget and run randomized trials of things that don't have data.
Okay, yeah.
Children's nutrition. I think RFK Jr. is correct that children need better food.
Yeah.
I write that they need to be served good, nutritious food a la Japan and France. Honestly, I think the way to solve it is literally you hire like ethnic chefs and give them the budget.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
Actually, put my mom in charge of it.
Dude, your mama crush it.
She'd crush it.
Totally.
She's like,
oh my God.
Sambar beko?
Exactly. Everybody going to eat ghee straight out the can.
Idli sambar? I mean, idli sambar.
It'd be bloated. Oh my God. They'd be so gassy, these kids.
all that. They'll be,
Now their microbiome will adjust.
Yeah, they'll adjust. They'll be, your IQ will go up with that.
That's true.
You could put you could take 2 fluoride.
2 fluoride, take it direct, mainline the fluoride.
Mainline the fluoride. Idli sambar?
Does it, of course okay, I have a question. Do you know this answer? Does fluoride work by coating the teeth, or is it orally absorbed and then incorporated into the matrix of teeth?
I think it's bloodstream absorption. And then it's incorporated in the matrix of tooth.
So you could IV it.
Yeah.
You get IV fluoride drip.
And my understanding is that like the topical fluoride, the foam they put in your mouth, another one of their great interventions, and they put that.
Tastes like balls. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you would know. No.
I mean,
you would know.
Some say balls taste like that.
Some say. People are saying. So yeah, like I don't know. Like I've heard that doesn't penetrate teeth very well.
Yeah, I don't think so.
As a lifetime of drinking fluoride. But also there are other countries. To RFK's point, there are other countries that don't fluorinate the water, and also they don't folate the cereals.
Right. And there are other countries that don't mask 2-year-olds, don't close the schools. Right. Don't mandate boosters.
I don't want to dismiss them out of hand. I want to learn more about it.
Yeah.
Processed food. I mean, I think Casey and Kelly Means have good ideas on processed food.
Yeah.
And I think Alex Berenson has this point. Repeal vaccine indemnification. So the 1986 law that prevents vaccine companies from being sued. Okay, so here's what my friend told me. He said that like if you allowed vaccine makers to be litigated, it would be just like medical malpractice, a disaster.
Yeah.
But to me, I think it would be more like litigating Pepcid and Claritin, which can be litigated because you can litigate a pill. And that hasn't been such a disaster. And then the other thing I'd say to it is that the other difference is that when the Vaccine Act was passed, vaccines did not make a lot of money. But now you make $100 billion.
Okay, because that was the argument is back then, the companies were saying it's not worth us staying in the game if we're going to get sued all the time because we don't make any money on these vaccines anyways. So they passed that act in the vaccine court and all that.
Now they're rich.
But only on certain vaccines.
Correct.
Right? So you almost have to,
ones.
yeah, just on Shingrix.
The most useful vaccines are the cheapest.
If not practically free. Yeah.
Free.
No, that's interesting. I haven't thought about this since I did a video on this a few years back when it was just childhood vaccines we were talking about, and they still weren't making a ton of money on vaccine. Maybe HPV vaccine they're making money on.
I guess the other thing I would say that obviously RFK Jr. has a lot of energy on vaccines. One thing that I think that to take that energy is to create a better phase 4 surveillance system. Like in this country, who told us about myocarditis? The Israelis. Who told us about VIT? The Europeans. This country, we didn't even detect the safety signals.
Terrible.
Right? So we need a system where we detect the safety signals.
Yeah. I'm going to acknowledge one of my supporters here, Chanath. Basically, pervasive doubt thought's coming up for me, and then they say thoughts. So this is one of my more spiritual circle where we're a big believer that thoughts don't really their appearances. That's fine. We still have to play in the relative world of this. We still have to work with other humans. And so in which case thoughts have relative value, relative utility, like a tool. Like our mind is a beautiful tool, a terrible master.
That reminds me of like a quote, like something like David Hume, where he said that, he spends all his days writing about, do we exist? Do I exist? How do I know? But at night, when you come by the fireplace and sip a glass of wine, it feels very real.
It's totally real. Yeah. In fact, this is a miracle how real it is. It is real. It's absolutely. Why pretend that it's an illusion, even though it is an illusion? Why pretend it's anything but what's happening? The
illusion here is the peyronie's.
That's not an illusion.
That's the only thing real.
That's as real as a heart attack. All right, back to you.
Well, I guess the 10th one, the 9th one was fire Peter Marks at FDA because I don't like him. And I think he's done so many bad. He pushed out Gruber and Krauss. He has a reckless attitude. He wants to lower the bar for gene therapy. And the 10th one was to eliminate direct-to-consumer advertising.
I agree with that,
100%. Products. Yeah. Well, that's what I think Bobby can do that's helpful. And, I think that instead of being a crybaby like all these people I see, put out 10 things that he can do as success. Take what he's saying. I distrust corporations. I distrust this, and come up with 10 productive things he can do. I think that's a much better use of our time.
Well, you have no choice. That's the thing. It's not like you're going to depose him in some. Like, I don't like the guy because of his previous childhood vaccines. But he's definitely directionally correct on these other things. So why throw the baby out with the bathwater at this point? As long as he doesn't ban childhood vaccines, which if he does that, then there's going to be a conversation, right? I mean, sure, lots of people will have that conversation because you're not going to find a country that's done that. You can't even point to that. Yeah.
So that's what interesting. So I want to do one research project I asked somebody to do on my team was I want to see, is there a nice chart that's and people can tell me this. email me on my website, vkprasadlab.com. I want to find a website that shows side-by-side country-by-country comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So which are the ones that are common in all countries and which ones are the different?
Ah, interesting.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the timing, and then to think around that.
Yeah,
because maybe the thing you can get sort of a compromise on with RFK is to say, look, what if we were to randomize 2 different childhood schedules?
Yeah,
current U.S. schedule or current
spread
Sweden?
out. Yeah, Sweden schedule. Right.
Okay, so just random, and then follow in 1 year and see like.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, and then you could look for safety signals too.
Yeah,
because if there is any safety signal, you'll see those differences.
And one of the safety signals would be like you get cases of measles,
correct,
because they haven't been vaccinated within a window.
I think all countries will have the measles.
Yeah,
the ones they disagree on is like Hep B and the timing. Things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but then I think, look, sometimes the best randomized study is not all versus nothing. Sometimes it's incremental. See differences. You know, people just need to know the history of.
Yeah. No, I think that's very rational.
We got to take the energy.
Take it, direct it, like chi. I don't know what chi is.
You may ease requirements for vaccine for school. So, I mean, people can feel about that whatever they want. But if you want to settle the question, you got to answer the question.
Yeah.
What are the safety signals? What are the benefits? Quantify them.
Right.
I just think that he can ease the vaccine requirements, but then 4 years, whatever, because some Democrat comes, they're going to raise it, and they'll be back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, whiplash.
Yeah, and the problem is there's unscientific thinking on all sides of this.
I agree.
So the RFK unscientific thinking is, look, there's so much autism. Look, it corresponds with when we started giving vaccines. Therefore, the vaccines are causing so much autism. We need to look at that very carefully. And it's like, well, okay. I know. That's, we need if you're going to do that. And there's been quite a bit of looking at that, right? I
think there's a very deep, like I would say, pretty solid paper from Anders, what's his last name? Havlid from like Denmark.
Ah, yeah.
And it is MMR vaccines and autism, Annals of Internal Medicine, 2023.
It's pronounced annals.
And it shows that it doesn't increase autism with an upper bound confidence interval 1.05. So it excludes all but the 1.01 to 1.04.
Yeah.
So it's a very negative study.
Yeah.
But again, negative studies don't take it down to 1.00. So like, okay, so you could debate on how to improve it, but I mean that particular product, I think that's a very tough. That's a bad claim he's making. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. So that's where I think he hangs up. Otherwise, like. He's directionally right. Casey and Callie Means are directionally right on those other things as well, which we've talked about.
Directionally right, or like there's some root intuition that's right.
I agree.
Intuition
I agree.
Now,
right,
but they have to take it and put it in the right direction.
People are telling me that chi is energy in Chinese. I know. I was just kidding. I don't know what chi is. I'm all too familiar with chi. In fact, I'm going to use it on VP after this show. I'm just going to blow out his pineal gland because apparently that's affected by fluoride, according to some of the comments.
And that's also the seat of the identity, according to Descartes.
Yeah, that's right. The pineal. Yeah, forget about melatonin and your sleep-wake cycle. The self is there.
See, right? I'm at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy. I'm like shelter. Like I'm literally walking from space heater to space heater.
That's true. This guy's at the bottom. Honestly,
space heater to space
heater to space heater. You're just going from heat source to heat source, like a fucking like a thermotropic bacteria.
And you're like, what's the meaning of life? I'm like, it's so cold, Zubin. Shut up. Shut up. And I'm like, and why won't you come to my dinner party? I'm meditating. I was like, fucking, you're meditating. Fucking meditating.
I'm applying chi to my Peyronie's disease. Oh man,
try to pray it away.
That's kind of the theme of this whole thing, man. You gotta take care of the base before you can hold the tip.
Are you talking about the Peyronie's or Maslow's hierarchy?
Neither in both. Yeah, neither in both. All
right.
What else? I think we almost did a thing here.
Really? How long?
Well, hour and 20.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Live is the way to go. Am I right, guys? Weigh in. Do you like live? If you like live, subscribe to VP's channel, my channel, and we'll probably create a Substack at some point and put VPZD episodes there. But our podcast. Our podcast is not behind a paywall yet, so you can go to VPZD show on wherever you get your podcast and subscribe, leave a review. Helps us a lot.
Go to my Substack, subscribe. Go to Sensible Medicine.
Sensible Medicine is his thing.
And Vinay Prasad's Observations and Thoughts.
Yes.
That's where you get the hard-hitting emails that Zubin deletes.
Those are the ones that I delete.
All the emails Zubin deletes.
Speaking of delete, like if you're like Joe and you're in my supporter tribe, you are in the tribe that's like, well, let's dissolve our egos entirely and go into the void. So if you're into that, zdogmd.com/supporters. Do you think expanding access to poor quality care is worse than no care? Very little evidence is independently practicing mid-levels are a good idea. So
it's an interesting question.
Interesting question. It's probably a big, long
Yeah, I guess
go ahead.
my preliminary answer is that I think that, like when people talk about healthcare as a human right, I think to me that cannot possibly mean anything you could want, right? Like you can't have a human right to just want an echo for shits and giggles. To me, it has to be some core amount of healthcare that's truly evidence-based and high value.
High value, yeah.
So like European countries, when they say healthcare is a human right or everyone can have healthcare, they don't mean you can get whatever, your plasma exchange like Brian Johnson on a whim.
Right.
Like they mean like things that we know work at high value.
That's right.
And I do worry that what we have done in the United States is we don't, like, an Affordable Care Act did nothing to solve that problem.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about what's high value. They just wanted to get people access to healthcare.
Right.
So you get people access to a mix of valuable things and crazy batshit crazy things that don't work.
Yeah.
And that could do more damage. Like healthcare costs could go up.
Yep.
Batshit crazy medicine can erode health outcomes, and you can make people sicker.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a worry.
This is something I've said for a long time. If you're building a health 3.0 system, you have to stop doing a lot of stuff to people.
You have to stop doing a lot of stuff.
And you can expand access to the stuff that works, like you said, which is relationship-based, coordinated, evidence-based care, like, and nutrition and public, the actual things that like we've been talking about during this whole show.
Like a good model of healthcare would be like some sort of public assurance you're going to get some core healthcare, and then you can pay for private insurance on top of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Like a German model.
Like a German model, yeah. And the German models of these not-for-profit insurance companies competing too. Here's another part of the question, though. I don't know if we want to touch this, but very little evidence that independently practicing mid-levels are a good idea. Have you looked at this? Is the third rail of medicine.
Well,
I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
mid-levels meaning nurse practitioners, physician assistants, et cetera.
I guess to me, one of the challenges is that, it's easy to be a doctor and say mid-levels suck, which I think is a mistake to say.
Right, I agree.
And I think that it's like, if anything, like there's like a distribution. Let's see.
Oh, yeah. I'll help. Oh, we put it out of focus, so we have to put it back here. Here's your distribution.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Two bell curves. I mean, you could argue that there's a median difference between an MD and an NP. Like the average MD may know more things than the average NP.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the distribution is probably overlapping, that like the worst doctor is way worse than the best NP.
Yeah.
And the same might be true for MDDO, dare I say. I know everyone's going to kill me, but they're always like, DO is just the same as MD. I'm like, you can be great DO doctors, but there's an slight average difference.
And it might just be the selection bias of getting into the program. That's all. It may not be the training at all.
And same thing for the NP. It might be a selection bias of who chooses to do it.
That's right.
But having said that, I personally would rather have 3 competent NPs than 1 incompetent doctor any day of the week.
That's right.
Or even 1 competent NP or 3 incompetent doctors.
Or I would go a step further and say, I would rather have an NP with an incredibly good interrelational ability who can put me at ease and calm me down from asking for all the things I don't need than a doctor who's a total dick who wants to do a bunch of stuff to me.
Yeah.
And my parents have said that they've interacted. They're both physicians. They've interacted with NPs that they prefer to the doctor sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, and the other thing is like, and also NPs are like used to go to places that doctors don't want to go anymore.
Yeah.
Like all the places that the news organizations don't want to go to either. These coastal elites.
The coastal elites.
Like,
exactly.
Like fuck LaPorte, Indiana.
Yeah, exactly.
Mid-levels are more expensive? I don't know. That's a tough one.
Are mid-levels more expensive for healthcare?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think there's a nice study that like when some Arizona neurosurgery residency went bankrupt or something, and they had to replace the 8 residents with NPs, and it took like 442. No, it was like some ridiculous, like 500 NPs to replace 8 overworked residents. It was really expensive. But I mean, depends on what you're replacing. If you replace a family practice doctor, it might be cheaper. But if you replace it,
I'll say this: I think the private equity takeover of healthcare and then trying to cut costs by using mid-levels, I don't know how well that's going to work because private equity just doesn't seem to know anything about the actual practice of medicine.
Trash.
Yeah.
Anthony DiGiorgio had a couple good suggestions. One was like, doctors are prohibited from owning hospitals.
Right.
But private equity can.
Right.
Like,
how is that?
Yeah, how's
like,
that? Yeah.
it's like, okay, so give the people with no ethics except for money.
Yeah.
Like doctors, at least they can fake having ethics for a minute. Yeah.
And then like Stark law stuff, like we can't do self-referrals and stuff. But I mean, some of those things should be eased up. And then 340B, You know, that 340B scam.
Tell me about 340B again, because it's been a minute.
340B is that if you are in a hospital that has some fraction of clients that are underserved,
yes,
you can purchase drugs through a program called 340B.
Right, the 340B program,
and
yeah.
You buy these drugs real cheap, and then you can sell them at the full price and
right.
keep all that slush.
That's how they make money.
And so they like have a hospital.
Yep, yeah.
And it like partly has clients from some poor neighborhood.
Yeah.
But they don't do shit for those people.
Yeah.
They take the cheap hemophilia drugs, buy that shit up.
Yeah.
And then they infuse in the rich people,
right.
and then they take that mad cut. 340B is 100% scam,
now,
and it should be
okay.
done
Now
away.
I have, I think, in the past spoken for an organization of federally qualified healthcare clinics who were using 340B to actually pay the overhead and take care of patients.
So, like,
do you think it's impossible for that?
I think there's probably somebody.
There's probably some that are doing it right, but probably the majority are not. Yeah. So maybe there's a way to reform it or to put some, or maybe just don't do it that way.
Like in San Francisco, not everyone is a shoplifter. But a lot of shoplifters.
That's right. I can't get my deodorant unless it's behind glass. Yeah. Oh, man.
So you know somebody who's not a shoplifter.
I don't know anyone who's not a shoplifter. Everybody shoplifted at some point and then either gotten caught or felt so guilty they turned it back in. Watching Still As You Both Are the Best. Oh, Watching Still As You Both Are the Best, Trisha. Look, this was fun.
Not the best at reading, apparently.
No, apparently. Yeah. Well, you guys got to understand that thing. How many feet away from me is that?
Oh, they don't know how bad your vision is.
Yeah.
Show them your old.
I have I'm so farsighted I can see like 2015, but anything closer than like a man length, I can't see. So that monitor is like a good 4 feet from my head, and the text is this small. It's the only way I can see it. These are my Costco readers. That's how thick they are. They're like 12x magnifiers.
It's bad.
It's bad.
I have 20/10 vision. I have like slightly better than
Yeah, I did too. But you know what? That farsightedness, as you get older, you'll find it does lead to a little quicker presbyopia, in my opinion. Like
what do you mean?
You'll get more and more farsighted. Like you'll find that you're holding shit out like this, and then you're wearing reading glasses. But you're still young. See, you don't have that. Are those fighting words? Are we gonna
fighting words?
Yeah. All right.
So
Well.
Good.
We're going to one thing Vinay and I have in common recently we discovered is we both do yoga.
That's true.
We only recently discovered, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying it now. I do it at least once or twice a day.
Oh, really?
Different types of yoga, the yin yoga, which
I don't want to tell where I do mine because then somebody's going to track
someone
me
will
down.
show up. Someone will show up.
But I do yoga. I find it very good. Well, you know, I was like always like a weightlifting type. And
yeah, me too.
And
I mean, you can tell.
Like,
can you not tell?
Obviously, like we are
Hans and Franz.
Yeah,
we're here to pump you up.
So like obviously, but so I thought like yoga would be very too weak, but it's not.
It's not. I thought it was wussy, garbage, new age trash, and then I got the chi, and now I'm like, okay, buddy, I do this all day, every day.
And do you synchronize with breathing?
Yes.
Breath
Exhale.
motion?
Absolutely. Yes. I do my downward doggy style.
Really?
Yes.
So we're gonna show me some moves now?
No downward doggy style, but I'll show you my my warrior one.
Wait, what? And what about your crow? Can you do a crow?
What's the crow, dude?
Well, you go on you put your knees on the back.
Oh, yeah, the crow. Yeah. I did that once, and the next day my wrist was like lit up like a fucking Christmas tree. I'm like, how can I even spank it now? Like my wrist
why do I have pseudo gout?
And somehow my peyronie straightened out. I must have been tripoding.
And then I was like, oh, are you free for the dinner party? I was just doing crow and I can't make it.
I can't hold a wine glass because of my wrist. My wrist.
I didn't know your social anxiety disorder is why you don't come to my parties.
It's bad. Well, it's a social disengagement disorder. Yeah. I just, too many people and I just, yeah. That's why I like seeing you. I could talk to you all day, but like you throw one other person in the mix, doesn't matter who it is. I'm like,
you know, it's like you need good guests for a dinner party. That's why I want you there. Because
I know. See, you're using me.
Yeah,
because you know I'll be a good guest.
Yeah, I mean, you need a good guest. Because like at a dinner party, we have like 2 or 3 bad guests. It's really it's worse than no dinner party.
It's worse than no dinner party.
Worse than no dinner party.
Although I consider no dinner party the gold standard of perfection.
Yeah.
But see, you're in a different place in life too. Like you're just energetic and you're going through the thing. When I was
young and full of life.
That's right. Now I'm old, withered, and dead inside. And when I was your age, I was totally seeking that shit. Now that's not to say that you won't continue to be that way.
I say,
for me, I just
like
came into my own.
You switched into the heated blanket mode.
Weighted heated blanket.
Weighted
if you could get a weighted heated blanket, I would be on board.
Weighted heated blanket. And it's like, Zubin, why are you crying?
It's so perfect.
The election.
I'm going to soothe myself with this weighted heated blanket. Oh, Kamala. Oh, Kamala.
Oh, and that's the other thing. We didn't talk about the fact that, I don't know, did she never won a single primary? Like,
yeah.
Like they picked somebody who like literally had never won.
This is the whole thing was very odd, right? It was very odd. But I don't think any Democrat would have won. I really don't. Short of like Michelle Obama, and I don't even think she could have won.
No, I think that no Democrat could have won.
I don't think so.
But I think that if Biden had been tough on the border, hadn't done capital injection in the market, and had handled COVID differently, then I think a Democrat would have won.
Democrat would have won.
Like, I think it is due to their like root policies.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
this was a hell of a lot of fun. We already gave the call to action, which is subscribe to all the things, Sensible Medicine, VPZD show on a podcast you like. Subscribe here to Z-Dog if you like my bald ass. Someone said I look like Vin Diesel. I prefer Vin unleaded, honestly. Vin EV, yes.
Vin Electric.
Vin Electric. The Hans and Franz comment was the best, says Masmod. Hey, believe me now and hear me later. By the way, what did you think of her showing up on SNL at the last minute, Kamala?
Oh, I mean,
it was entertaining.
Entertaining, but too little, too late.
Too little, too late. Yeah,
and also like,
you see how great Maya Rudolph is, though.
She's good.
She's really good.
She should have done the Rogan was like missed.
Rogan was a missed. I was like, why aren't you doing this? They had all kinds of demands on Rogan.
Yeah. Like it's like they don't even know Rogan.
Yeah,
come here and do 1 hour.
No,
it's like, do you even know what the show is?
Do you even know what this is? Like, no wonder you're not winning over young men.
What was that show she did? That Alex something podcast.
Oh yeah. Call Me Daddy.
They're saying that her campaign blew $1 billion in cash, and they have a $20 million deficit. And they say $100,000 was spent on recreating the set, so she didn't have to go there. Like they brought her to, and they like recreated the set.
This is folly.
You know what? I also think that the only thing worse than crying about the election is like donating to these people. Like they just
any of them, honestly.
Like I'm not going to donate to any politics. No. Watch them waste my money.
No way.
I need my money.
I'm good at wasting.
I'm living space heater to space heater.
This guy?
Yeah.
Maslow?
Yeah.
Dude, the bottom of the pyramid just has a VP on it.
Even the top of the pyramid shouldn't have donating to these wasteful people.
That's true. That's true. They should be donating to the empty void at the heart of creation.
They should be subscribing to our staff.
Yeah, that's right. If you're at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, spend your few frugal pennies.
Subscribing.
Follow me as a supporter. It's only $5 a month. I mean, that's the, so your child misses a meal. It's okay.
Well, whatever. They have Netflix and they're not watching.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, how am I supposed to afford these fancy mics and pay off VP to be my friend? I need money. I need your money. I actually don't. I love you guys. You guys are great.
All right.
Thanks, VP. We're going to go get something to eat. Until next time. Now I got to actually end this thing. Let's see. I hit some kind of button over somewhere. Oh, yeah, here it is.
Don't hit the share your screen button.
Share my screen? Then they're going to see when neither one of us are wearing pants. All right, guys. I love you, and we're out. Peace. Let me make sure.